We start by seeing two women preparing on a film set on a remote island. One of them is named Hayden, who has the lead role. In front of them is a cage containing some dogs. The director approaches and reviews her role in the story, where a group of ferocious dogs will chase her, and when she is caught, she will reach her hand to the sky. This worries Hayden because it doesn't seem very safe. Even though she likes dogs, the ones here are very strange and aggressive to her. Later, we see a group of people responsible for rescuing and caring for the loose dogs. One of them is named Maria, and her companions are named Marcos and Hector. She goes out to search for one of the dogs and soon approaches a cave. She hears low whimpering and goes inside, where not far in, she sees 100 bats. The thousands of flying animals are awakened by her flashlight, and then they fly over her. Fortunately, Maria is fine afterward and continues searching for the animal. It doesn't take long for Maria to find it, but something makes her nervous. Upon finding it, she sees a bat biting the dog and feeding on its blood. Maria then removes the bat and puts the leash on the animal, but it shows stress and barks at her. Her friends only hear the noise and look worried in her direction. Suddenly, the noise turns into Maria's screams, and fearing the worst, the two men call out to her. Fortunately, the screams are from a struggle with an animal, which is showing symptoms of rabies and resisted having the leash put on it. When she arrives back with her companions, she instructs Hector to restrain the dog separately from the others. Suddenly, Marcos hears a noise in the bushes, and when he approaches to see, a dog attacks him and drags him into the dark forest. His friends become worried and call out for him, but what makes them even more fearful is when the dog they just captured breaks the cage and escapes. While Maria continues calling for Marcos, her companion enters the car to call for help on the radio, but ends up being attacked on the feet. While Hector tries to hold his ground, another dog knocks Maria down and tries to bite her, but she uses her strength to throw the dog onto the car's windshield. The dog does not die, it just gets angrier. Unfortunately, the dog that bites Hector is very strong and manages to drag the man out of the car and take him into the forest. Frightened, Maria gets into the vehicle and kicks the animal off the windshield. However, she doesn't check the inside of the car and is suddenly surprised by another fierce dog, which attacks and kills her. The ferocious animal appears, and we see it is not a normal dog, possessing canine fangs larger than usual. 15 years later, we meet Vince Ventura, a businessman on one of his tropical islands. He is organizing a competition where he invited 5 content creators to come to the location and participate in a contest, and as a reward, they will win $1 million. His companion is named Thalia, who is very excited about the upcoming days. He introduces the contestants, the first being named Queen, the second is a farmer named Farmer, the third is Mason Kelly, and the others are the Shenanigan siblings, Violet and Collins, who own a bar, but in their spare time seek to produce content to increase their earnings online. When they receive the invitation from Vince, Collins is excited, but Violet is not too keen on the idea of going to an isolated island. The next day, the group of young people arrives at the helicopter that will take them to their destination, and Thalia is responsible for flying them. Inside the helicopter, each one talks about their niches, and upon seeing Queen putting banana peels around her neck, they find the action strange. Thalia shows the group Vincetopia, a boat where they will have a party. When the young people arrive at the resort, Vince greets them, and Collins asks about the internet password, but Vince shows them his own cell antenna, though they cannot use it. Vince takes them to show the beauty of the location, one of which is the dogs that have inhabited the island since he bought it, and that now he wants to make it a paradise for these animals. Vince also shows some dogs inside a pen, and when Farmer tries to communicate with the animals, they show they do not like their presence. Thalia takes the group to their quarters, and Vince says that they will start the next day. After saying this, the helicopter is taken away. In the evening, dogs wander around the cabin where the young people are while they converse among themselves. Violet goes outside for some fresh air, showing that she is impatient to be in that location. Suddenly, she hears barking and the whimper of a puppy, and curious, she moves closer to reach the dog's cage. She sees a tearful animal looking at her, and then decides to approach and tries to pet it. However, an adult dog nearly bites her and prevents her affectionate gesture. Soon more dogs arrive and start barking at her, and frightened she decides to run, but ends up going in the opposite direction, moving further away from the cabin. She stops upon hearing a noise of breaking branches, but fortunately, it's her brother Collins who came to film her. For him, the opportunity to be there participating in Vince's competition could boost their internet careers, something that for Violet is no longer a priority. She wants to go home, but her brother convinces her to stay one more day and try to participate in the competition. At dawn, the group signs non-disclosure documents at breakfast. Then Vince begins telling the history of the island. 15 years ago, the place was the setting for a horror film, Hayden and the Rabid Dogs. However, the recordings were never finished because the caregivers of the animals mysteriously disappeared. Violet gets straight to the point and questions what they will do there. Vince then says they are there for the Canine crusade, where they will capture the animals that will be released, and whoever has the most of them will win a part of the island. Vince says there are cameras throughout the island, and with the footage, he will make his videos. Some of them get excited about the project, but Violet confronts the idea that they are in a reality show where they will participate in a race with wild dogs. Vince says that despite the prizes, the video will be shared with them after the competition ends, for them to post on their profiles, so it doesn't matter if they win the grand prize, they will all benefit from it. Collins is super excited because this video could boost his channel to thousands of followers, but Violet has her doubts. She recounts the previous night when one of the animals in the cage tried to attack her, showing it was rabid. This leaves the others thoughtful, but Vince bangs on the table and asks if they want to win an island or not. Everyone now questions the fact that they could get rabies, but Vince reassures them that they are tame dogs. To prove it, he takes the group to the dog enclosure, and Vince goes to feed the youngest one. However, upon opening the cage, the largest one, known as Spike, charges out and eats the sausage from Vince's hand, who is quite fearful in front of such an animal. Vince tries to pet the dog, but the animal violently attacks him and bites his hand. Startled, the others run away and leave the man alone. The young people return to the cabin and shelter inside, fearing that the dog might enter and attack them as well. For a moment, the barking and banging on the door stop, but it doesn't take long for Spike to break the glass window and torment them inside the cabin. Collins defends himself with a lamp, and Farmer attacks the animal with a metal pipe. The animal is strong and is not easily defeated. The group joins together to attack the rabid dog, and when they try to escape, the animal attacks Collins and ends up biting him. Fortunately, Queen uses a fire extinguisher and drives the animal away. The group takes shelter in one of the rooms, and Farmer locks the door before the beast can enter. The group is in the drink pantry and tries to help Collins somehow. Farmer says that now only Thalia can help them and call for help. Collins questions how they will get to her. Queen points to the window and says they can exit through it, but they need weapons in case they encounter the ferocious animals. Farmer wants to use a golf club, but Mason breaks a bottle and says that pieces of glass might be more useful. Farmer then leaves the compartment he is in and observes his surroundings. Soon, some dogs approach him, and when one tries to attack him, he holds out the glass shard and injures the animal in the nose. The animal is not intimidated by the wound, and without fear, goes to attack the man. Farmer asks to be pulled back inside and narrowly avoids having his body pierced by the same shard of glass. The group talks to decide who will try to reach Thalia's cabin. Queen volunteers to go with someone else, but they need to create a distraction. Farmer volunteers and says he can create the distraction. Then after the animals move away, he and Mason grab some things and head outside. While Queen leaves, the brothers try to exit through the window, but Collins is very injured in the leg and has no strength to climb. He asks his sister to go with Queen while he waits there. The two men follow the path to Thalia, but come across the dog a little further on. They hide and watch as the animal passes close to them, and fortunately, the dog with the injured snout does not smell them. Queen and Violet, after exiting, observe that they are being watched by the ferocious dog. Fearing the worst, they run and the animal chases them. The two hide and hope not to be found and narrowly escape being discovered. Meanwhile, Farmer and Mason walk through the island making noise to attract the dogs. For a moment, they think it isn't working, but suddenly, a dog appears and knocks Mason down. They shake off the animal, but seeing more coming toward them, the two run and use plastic toys to delay the dogs. Back with the two young women, they find Vince's body, all chewed and lifeless. Suddenly they hear something approaching, but are happy that it is just the puppy. However, the animal is not as docile as they think, and soon it attacks Queen. Fearing for her friend's life, Violet kicks the animal hard, but they soon come across another older dog. Fortunately, the dog does not attack them, but it does the worst thing they could imagine. It goes to the cage door and unlocks it by pressing the button, thus releasing the other animals. The two young women run out of fear, and meanwhile, Collins hears barking and decides to check the window. As soon as he puts his face out to see the outside, he is almost attacked by one of the rabid dogs. Mason and Farmer reach the cell antenna and climb up to escape the attacks. Part of the ladder falls, leaving them without a way to descend safely. Fortunately, Violet and Queen reach Thalia's cabin and see her having fun with virtual reality games. The two call her, and she is surprised by the unexpected visit. Queen tells her what happened to Vince and asks her to immediately call someone to rescue them. However, the young girl does not believe it, as it seems to be some type of prank by Vince. Meanwhile, the two hanging from the tower try to fend off the animals by throwing pieces of the antenna at the dogs, but it does not help. What happens next is that the ferocious animals begin to climb the trees near the antenna, aiming to launch themselves to reach the two. Back with the girls, Thalia starts a live stream to show Vince's antics, but Violet and Queen manage to convince Thalia to call for help. Unfortunately, things do not go as they hoped, as without them knowing, Farmer and Mason destroyed some parts of the antenna, and that cut the signal. Queen can see what is happening at the antenna and realizes the boys are in big trouble. The ferocious dogs start launching themselves against the antenna trying to climb, which weakens the tower's base. Fearing the dogs will reach them, Mason pulls the electric cables and touches them to the metal. The shock works, and the electrocuted dogs fall unconscious. Back with the girls, Thalia, seeing the danger, grabs Vince's flare gun and aims it at the tower. She wants to help, so she shoots. However, when the flare reaches the tower, it explodes and further weakens the antenna's base. The two are terrified, and it does not take long before the antenna finally falls. They are fine after the fall, but the solution to escape from there is to jump off the cliff and land in the sea. Both jump just before another ferocious dog attacks them. They start swimming towards Thalia's cabin, and when they reach the girls, Thalia says they can't call for help as they lost the cell antenna. Thinking of a solution, they remember the party boat, and fortunately, Thalia has the key, but the boat is on the other side of the island. Violet reminds them of her brother, saying they need to think of something to rescue him first. The directions are opposite, and Mason even discourages Violet by saying that Collins has probably already been eaten by the rabid dogs. Violet says they will not leave without their brother. Queen suggests going to the mainland to get help first. Mason likes the idea, but Farmer says he and Violet will go to rescue Collins while the others guard the cabin until they return. As they leave, Mason stays on the upper part of the cabin, not noticing that he is already being watched by one of the animals. Inside the cabin, Thalia and Queen talk, and Thalia mentions that actress Hayden is her sister. We see that she is in another location doing other recordings, and her assistant shows a live stream of her sister talking about what has happened. They begin to suspect the moment, since the video was suddenly interrupted. Violet and Farmer arrive at the cabin where Collins is, but what they find is only bloodstains. Hearing noises, the two go to the kitchen, and there they come across Collins out of it, with a bloody mouth and eating raw meat. Back at Thalia's cabin, Mason becomes aggressive and knocks her to the ground, demanding that she give him the boat key. When he has the key in his possession, he is surprised by a dog that grabs and bites his hand. The animal snatches the key from him and eats it, then forces the trio to run. Mason, being injured, cannot be quick, and this contributes to him being attacked by the ferocious animal again. The girls can only hear his screams and run for their lives. The other trio finds a passenger vehicle, making it easier for them to return to Thalia's cabin. Fortunately, they encounter the two girls on the way and offer them a ride. Thalia takes the wheel and says that Mason has become dog food. They continue fleeing, but the vehicle loses power and shuts off. Farmer and Violet have to push the vehicle until it starts again, but during this, they hear the sound of barking getting closer. Suddenly, Farmer sees a large number of rabid dogs approaching them in the distance. Fortunately, the vehicle starts working again, and Thalia accelerates as fast as she can. She heads toward a small bridge with a plan. They throw bottles of drinks, and Farmer shoots the flare gun, creating flames that stop the dogs from proceeding. The group arrives at the old film set, where Thalia finds a paintball gun, something that Farmer is not too excited about. However, Violet says they need to prepare to confront the animals the next time they come. The group gathers what they think will be useful. They make makeshift weapons, and Violet is lucky enough to find a bow and arrows. The group spends the night there, and fortunately, they are not attacked. The next morning, as they prepare to leave, they notice that Collins is not with them. They call him, and we see that he is in the cave where it all started. Curiously, he starts to enter the dark place. Impatient, Farmer decides to go after him, and upon arriving at the cave entrance, he sees him coming out. Collins is still acting strangely because of the dog bite, but Farmer takes him back. Seeing that he is struggling to stand, they tie him up in the car and leave. Fortune is on their side, as on the way they find dog feces, and in it is the key to the boat that the dog ate. While Thalia cleans the key, Spike and his dog companions arrive at the location. Fearing for her life, she quickly jumps into the vehicle and they accelerate away from the animals. It doesn't take long before the car is attacked and one of the dogs tries to bite Thalia. Fortunately, Queen uses her makeshift weapon and takes down the ferocious dog. Many more animals are pursuing them, and Violet even tries to hit them with arrows, but she does not succeed. Collins, unable to stay still, grabs Queen's gun and manages to cut the ropes that were binding him, and crazily jumps out of the vehicle and runs away. Farmer, wanting to help, jumps out of the car and goes after the disoriented Collins. For a moment, the young man hides, but when he emerges, a dog appears with him. Fortunately, Farmer acts quickly and defeats the dog, but it is not just one, and many others come to attack them. Meanwhile, the girls try to escape from the other group of dogs and end up falling off a cliff. To their delight, the boat is nearby, and they just need to swim to it. Not wanting to lose their prey, Spike jumps into the water, and soon the others follow. The girls manage to climb onto the boat, and just as Thalia is about to get on, the dog grabs one of the ropes and tries to attack her. Fortunately, she still has the flare gun, and without hesitation, she shoots it in the mouth. What they did not expect was to find Mason still alive inside the boat, and he has a dog under his control. He managed to tame the animal, which terrifies the girls. Violet tries to shoot an arrow, but misses, and the animal attacks Queen. Fortunately, with Thalia's help shooting paintball bullets at the dog's nose, Queen grabs the animal and throws it into the water, leaving Mason alone again. Mason then pushes the young woman off the boat, and Thalia cannot bring her back. The young woman falls into the water, and the dogs devour her. Mason then attacks Thalia, but he does not expect that Violet is preparing an attack. She strikes an arrow into his chest, thus sealing his fate. The terror is not over yet, as the dogs are climbing onto the boat. The young women head to the control cabin, and while Thalia starts the vessel, Violet fights against the ferocious animals. As the boat accelerates, some of the animals fall into the water, and Violet ends up hitting her head. She hallucinates with her brother being there on the boat, but soon sees the reality. Her brother is there with bloodshot eyes, but for some reason, he came with the dogs that no longer attacked him. As a dog tries to enter the cabin, Thalia drives it away with a champagne. Collins almost falls off the boat, but his sister uses an arrow to tie his leg to the vessel. The dog does not give up and tries a new attack against Thalia, but this time Violet grabs it with the bow and kills it. Unfortunately, the boat collides with some rocks and gets stuck. The girls, seeing that many rabid dogs are swimming toward the boat, climb to the top of the cabin and fight against them. They use whatever is within reach, but that will not be enough. Fortunately, help arrives by helicopter, and gunfire kills many of the beasts. The two are happy to see Hayden, the heroine. Hayden uses her skills to fight against the animals coming toward her and easily gets rid of them. After that, she rescues the trio, and from inside the helicopter, she throws a grenade, destroying the boat along with the remaining dogs. As the aircraft leaves, we see that Farmer is still alive, but unfortunately, other dogs are still around, eager to finish him off.